Greetings and welcome to Dude's Comic Reviews. I'm Jason and this is my weekly review video where I review the new books that I picked up this week. 12 to get through today, so without further ado, let's get to those reviews. First up this week we have FF issue number 12. This came out last week but it didn't ship for some reason to my comic shop, so they got it in this week instead. This book is just a load of fun. Every time I read this, I finish up with a smile on my face, and it seems to be that kind of book that Marvel will do well. That is a book that is like, because of the writing, because of the art and the colours, it just has that happy feel about it, but there's this dark undercurrent to it as you read it, which like I say, I think it's just something Marvel are doing really well at the moment. This is like, Matt Fraction pretty much has left this book now. He's handed these notes to Lee Holdred, the new writer. Mike Holdred, the artist, I think is going to leave about issue 16, so it'll be interesting if they can retain that tone or whether with the new creative team that tone will change. And last issue was the first issue I really got into the new Fantastic Four team, but again this issue we're right back to the kids being the star of the issue, especially Bentley 23, the Moloids, and our new addition, Adolf the Impossible. They're the main bit that made me laugh in this book, and there's a really nice touching scene between Adolf and Luna as well, which is worth hanging on for. This book though, you know, despite having a happy feel to it, there is something dark building, and particularly in this issue we see something build throughout the issue that kind of reaches the climax at the end. Yeah, this book is just really good. I'm really enjoying it, and I give FF issue number 12 5 stars. Next is an Uncanny Avengers issue number 12, and this is another book that was supposed to have come out last week but didn't ship to my comic shop. This issue was another really good issue. Rick Remender, I think, is just really great at writing team books because he gives all the characters their time and their moment to breathe. But this issue we don't get nothing to do with Thor or Wolverine or Sunfire. He concentrates on a couple of the stories instead. We learn a little bit more about Apocalypse Twins, which is always good, and Kang gets a bit of an unpleasant surprise at the end of the issue. I was a bit shocked. I never realised Kang was such a racist. Like the way he talks about the mutants in here, it's like, oh my god, you know, you think he's a guy from 2,000 years in the future and he's got such backward views, and I'm like, whoa. And he was always one of my favourite villains, Kang, and like I'm thinking I've seen him in a whole different light now. The main thing this issue did for me is it made me care for Scarlet Witch. She's never a character that I've never really gone into. I don't dislike her, I just never really have cared that much about her. But this issue, the kind of dilemma she's got and the great scene she has with Wonder Man as they kind of talk what she should do, I think just for the first time really made me empathise with the character, which was a great feat in and of itself. No Daniel Acuna on this issue. We have Salvatore LaRocca coming on art duties, and he does a good job, especially like I said, that aforementioned scene between Scarlet Witch and Wonder Man I thought worked really well, and the art was really great. Colours are really great as well in this book, really work through it, and the story just continues to build. Sometimes the science stuff seems to be a bit over my head, but I get enough of it that I understand what needs to be done and where the story is going. All in all, this is a really good book. Remender's a great writer. You could pick up this one and I think there'd be some bits you might not understand, but I think the bulk of it you'd still be able to follow, and I give Uncanny Avengers issue number 12 5 stars. Next up, the first of the books that were released this week is Savage Wolverine issue number 9. I like the idea of this book, the whole thing of that it's not wrapped into any continuity. It just has creative teams coming on and telling a Wolverine story. I think there's a lot of merit in that, especially if we can have so many books. But this issue, I was really looking forward to it. You know, I like the premise of Wolverine being put on an alien planet. I like the idea of that. I thought he could do some interesting stuff. It's written and illustrated by Jock, and the issue really is a very quick read. We don't really get much substance here at all. Wolverine's dumped on this planet by some aliens who supposedly have kidnapped him. He's thrown through re-entry, he burns up, but amazingly, by the time he lands, he's started to heal from burning up. Plus, his suit's only a little bit ripped, you know. We then go, Wolverine's find these creatures, and he finds that the bit of the planet he's actually sitting on is actually this giant bug. and then he has to kill this giant bug, and it's seemingly at the moment that he was took across the universe to kill a giant bug. You know, that the aliens that have the technology to take somebody across the universe can't build a machine to kill a big bug. And then at the end of the issue it gets a bit interesting with this kid turns up and that is released presumably by these aliens that have taken Wolverine, and he keeps saying like, oh, we're the same, and like, so it does end a bit intriguing, but it was such a quick read. There's not much dialogue in here. It's particularly in the first bit with the bug. You just have these like dialogue boxes which you presume are the people that have taken Wolverine, and so yeah, there wasn't really much here. I was very disappointed with it. Left me wondering, do I need to pick up the next one? But I'm hoping that if I pick up the next one, that there'll be some kind of twist that will make this all make sense and more worthwhile. But yeah, this one, while it had its good points in, like, I think the art really illustrated how rough this planet was. So I thought the art worked well with the story, and the end bit was intriguing. It was a very quick read and not very satisfying, so I give Savage Wolverine issue number 9 3 stars. Next we have Iron Man issue number 16. This was the conclusion to the Secret Origin Tony story arc, and it was very disappointing. The issue kicks off, we get the end of the whole thing with Recorder 451 wants to take Tony to another dimension because it's one of his mistakes, and he wants all of his mistakes out of the universe. So Tony has to kind of defeat Recorder and manage to stop where he's going to go, which he manages to do. The story then jumps 3 months, and he's saying goodbye to the Guardians of the Galaxy. He then returns to Earth. Pepper throws a surprise birthday party for him, reveals she's engaged. Tony goes and looks at some pictures of his folks, and then disappears, flies off. That is your issue right there. I was just disappointed with this one. I felt there was no big bang to end the story. I felt all the drama had kind of come in the last 2 issues, and this was really just the mopping up issue, you know. So that didn't really inspire. Then the bit I was really looking forward to, seeing how Tony copes with the knowledge that he was genetically engineered by aliens. We don't get to see him deal with any of that, and that was the bit I was looking forward to. We jump 3 months, and he's saying goodbye to the Guardians, and then he returns to Earth, and, you know, it's just a lot of fluff, this issue. It is, you know, it doesn't really advance any of the stories. We get a kind of like hint there's something else with his parents at the end, but it doesn't kind of set it up in such a way that you are eager to find out, or you're eager to come back next issue and to see what comes next. It just doesn't set up anything at all for future issues. It doesn't really resolve anything or add anything to the Secret Origin of Tony arc story. So yeah, this issue just was very disappointing, and I think unless you're a completist who wants every issue, I think give this one a miss and just come back next month when the new story arc kicks off. Very disappointed, and I give Iron Man issue number 16 2 stars. Next up we have Justice League of America issue number 7.4. Villains Month issue with Black Adam, and it's 3D. This should have come out last week, but my comic shop was another one of the ones that didn't ship. Initially I didn't really see the point of these 3D covers, but picked my first one up last week and I really like them. I'm glad I waited to the last week to pick one up, because I think if I had done it the first week I would have spent a ridiculous amount of money on them. But yeah, all in all, I enjoyed. I like that cover. This was a character, Black Adam, that I knew a bit about. I remember reading a miniseries called 52, and he played quite a big part in that. And so I was quite intrigued with his character, and to see if the new 52 version is like the pre-52 version. The story itself does feel a bit rushed. I think it would have really benefited from being a 2-parter. Even with that, saying that though, they build up really well to the reappearance of Black Adam. They give you some history of Karnak, is it called? They give some history to that place, and to Black Adam's links with the place as their protector, which leads to his reappearance. And like I say, it does feel rushed as we go along. The end though does really set up nicely for the Forever Evil. All in all, I enjoyed this one. I thought it was a great introduction. Definitely kind of got me looking forward to what Black Adam's role is going to be in Forever Evil, because it doesn't look like he's going to be a typical villain. But yeah, all in all, I enjoyed this. Like I say, liked the cover, liked the book. The art was alright, but every scene that Black Adam is in, he looks very angry. He seems a very angry man. Maybe he needs some anger management training. But yeah, all in all, enjoyed this one. It was a good read. I think if you like Black Adam or Shazam, this is worth getting. And I give Justice League of America issue 7.4 4 stars. Next up we have Forever Evil issue number 2. I loved issue number 1. I loved the prelude to this, which was Trinity War. Still really liking this. The event seems to be bigger than I anticipated. I thought it was just going to be this book. But now in the back of the issue we get this like 1-page thing showing you all the books that you can get to follow this story. And so yeah, it's going to be a lot bigger than I thought, which is one thing where I think, comic companies don't always plan their events good, because you've got the Green Lantern story Lights Out that's going on this month. You've got Forever Evil that's going to go on for about the next 5 months. You've got next month you've got the 0 year tie-ins that's going to go on. So I mean, they could plan it better. Marvel are just as guilty of doing these kind of things as well, but I think they could plan their things a lot better to make it more affordable, so that us comic book fans can get a whole of something instead of having to make a decision, well, which one do I buy? So yeah, some of the stories in here, some of the story threads, they seem to be leading to other books, but I think the main 3 that interested me all seem to be featured in this book. We've got something interesting going on with Lex Luthor, and when he runs into this security guard and the guy gives his name, that was a moment that I was like, whoa, yes. But then that don't last long. But yeah, still interesting what's going on with Luthor. We get the love triangle between Ultraman, Owlman and Superwoman, which I think could be the thing that brings the crime syndicate down. And then the third thing is just this throwaway line from Owlman and Ultraman, concerned that what they ran from in Earth 3 could follow them. And this got me thinking, and I'm not the biggest DC expert. I wasn't the big DC reader back in the day. I'm quite new to DC really, but I know one story that I read, I'm sure at the beginning of it, and it's still called Crisis on Infinite Earths. I'm sure at the beginning of it, Earth 3 gets destroyed, and I'm just wondering, could this be the same thing? Could we see the beginning of a New 52 Crisis on Infinite Earths? Because we've seen Earth 2, now we've got Earth 3, we've got our main Earth. Could we see that? And could maybe the end of that be these worlds kind of merging? And could that mean that they could rectify some stuff, maybe things that fans aren't happy with, like Tim Drake not being a Robin? Could you then rectify that because all of this gets rewritten in some way? I don't know. That would be interesting. But again, like, would they go down that route though of retelling a story? I don't know. But that was something, and maybe, like I said, I'm not the biggest DC expert, so I could be totally going up the wrong path with that. But that was just something that got me thinking. The art here was really good. I think sometimes David Finch, while I like my heroes to be larger than life, he can go a bit too muscly, make them look like they're on steroids. I think he tones it back a bit with this series so far, and I think it's really worked for his art. I think it's been really great artwork. All in all, a really good fun book. Not too late to jump on board. It's only issue 2. But yeah, DC are doing good with this event so far, and I give Forever Evil issue number 2 5 stars. Next up we have The Phantom Stranger issue number 12. Really been enjoying this book. A tale of one man's journey for redemption. Last issue looked like he made the ultimate sacrifice, getting wiped from existence. We get a nice little twist with that at the beginning, which I kind of felt makes sense. I liked. I could understand how some people might think, oh, not really be happy with the way they kind of undo what they did last issue. But I liked how they did it, and it kind of worked with how the story's been going. I think some of the ideas in here are just brilliant. Making God a Scotty dog, fantastic. We then get to deal with some things from previous issues. We get to see Chris, the guy that Phantom Stranger brought back from heaven, and there's something strange going on with him, which seems interesting. We get to see Terrence 13, the guy that betrayed Phantom Stranger, and Phantom Stranger finds out that the Question was behind it all. So some interesting stuff going on there. We've still got the Sin Eater about, because he wants to still destroy the Phantom Stranger. So there's some nice things there. It's one of those issues that I think if you're a long-term reader of it, you'll enjoy, because it kind of resolves some stuff for us, rather than like set anything up for future issues. It more is dealing with resolving what's been happening in the book. There's a nice little mention of Forever Evil in here. I was a bit disappointed that Phantom Stranger didn't kind of go off and try and find out what happened to Batman, but maybe that's going to come up in a future issue. But all in all, this was a good issue, but I think it's more one for your long-term readers, and I give Phantom Stranger issue number 12 4 stars. Next up we have Swamp Thing issue number 24. This has been a book I've been thinking about jumping back on for a long time. I really enjoyed Snyder's run of this book. I've never read the character previous to that, but I really enjoyed that run. And I kind of dropped it, not just because I wasn't enjoying it, but just because that was such a beautiful ending, and it was a nice place to finish. Because it wrapped up that story brilliantly. But it was a character I really liked, and there was part of me who kind of wanted to go back. So I made the plunge. I went back with this issue. Another reason I wanted to go back to this book is it's written by Charles Soule, and he seems to be about so much at the moment, so many books he's doing, that I thought, you know, I want to know a bit more about this Charles Soule. So those are the two reasons that I picked this book up. I'm glad I did. It was a really good issue. Very easy to get into the story. You know, considering I haven't bought this one, I think issue 18 was the end of Snyder's run, I think I'm right there. So we're on 24 now, so that's a few issues I've missed. But I didn't feel like I'd missed that much. There was like a couple of new characters, but in the main, I followed it really easily. The story was really good. The identity of this new character called the Cedar is revealed, and I liked who it was, and it sort of sets the story in an interesting way. And really, there's a nice twist at the end, with the Parliament of Trees kind of playing, you know, about with Alec Holland a bit again. But yeah, I liked this book. I enjoyed it. The art was good. It wasn't like Paquette, the previous artist during the Snyder run. He would very much, an artist who kind of covered for him, would very much try and use the panels like plants and sort of piece everything together that way. This is a much more traditional kind of layout, but the art I felt worked really well with the story. And yeah, this was one I was glad I picked up. I think I'll definitely be back for the next issue, and I give Swamp Thing issue number 24 5 stars. Next we have The Star Wars issue number 2. This is based off the original rough draft by George Lucas for the Star Wars, and for Star Wars, which he called then was The Star Wars. It remains really interesting because of the differences. It takes me 2 reads to get the best out of this book. The first read, I'm just learning where everything is and kind of getting everything straight. And then the second, I can kind of concentrate a bit more on the story. So far, I think all the changes that Lucas made, I think I can definitely see are justified. I think the story works a lot better with the changes. None of the characters really stand out yet. When I think of the original trilogy, and you think of all those characters, there were so many memorable characters, but nobody really has struck out. It's amazing the difference in the Vader character without a helmet on, because you add so much to the character, you don't know what he's thinking or feeling because he's got that mask, and I think it adds so much more power to the character and much more mystery, where we don't really get that same kind of mystery with Darth Vader being just a guy in a suit. I think the only character who has been slightly interesting is General Skywalker, and the story seems to be mainly focused around him. We get to see the Space Fortress, which we become later to know as the Death Star, and we get to see that in battle early on. It doesn't seem to be as fearsome as the one in A New Hope, because the fighters are really giving it a battering in the space battle. So that kind of takes something away from this space station, this Space Fortress, sorry. One thing that really stands out for me with this book though is the art. The art is tremendous. The artist, it's not somebody I know too well. It's Mike Mayu, and he does a fantastic job with the art. Really great stuff. But yeah, this is still a good book. It isn't a knockout story, but I'm still finding it really interesting for all the differences and the changes that were made. I think, yeah, definitely if you're a Star Wars fan, this is a very interesting book to be reading, and I give the Star Wars issue number 2 4 stars. Next, my pick of the week, Lazarus, issue number 4. Issue number 3 was the one that got me hooked on this series, was the one that made me think, yeah, I'm on for the long haul. This was the one I was really looking forward to, and it did not disappoint. Another really great issue. There were some fantastic twists. There's one around about the middle of the book and one at the end, and the way it leaves at the end, it's really interesting where the book will go to with that and the direction that it's now going to take. I thought that was brilliant. It gave me everything I wanted, this book, and so much more. Just a really good story, so many interesting twists, but that twists that logically make sense as well. They're not just there for the sake of being, oh yeah, we're going to have a twist. No, they make sense. All in all, I really enjoyed this book, and really on it for the long haul. If you want something a bit different from your regular superhero books, maybe kind of like some kind of sci-fi future book, then this is definitely a book to try out. I'm loving it at the moment. Greg Rucka's just doing a fantastic job, and I give Lazarus, and this number 4, my pick of the week, and 5 stars. First up, that right there is my cover of the week. There were some good covers this week, but that for me was the one that just really stood out of all the covers. Was really eye-catching. My cover of the week. This book also gets my geek out moment of the week. The conclusion at the end, the last page of this book, the identity of our new character. Wow. It's a guy from the TV show, and I'm just so excited to see what they're going to do with him in the book, and how close it's going to ape the TV show. So I thought that was really good. Jeff Lemire does a great job. This issue reads very much like, if you haven't read this book, that you could jump on, because there's a lot of kind of rehashing what's happened, which is great after taking a month off as well. I think that with the whole villains month, I think that was a great thing to do as well, to kind of rehash stuff. And I think in that way it's a great place to jump into the book, which remains to be brilliant. We get to see the after effects of Green Arrow's battle with Count Vertigo. He returns to Seattle, but Count Vertigo's not far behind him, kind of wants a rematch. That goes down really well. Again, Sorrentino and the colorist Mike Miamlo. I can't pronounce the dude's name. Let's have a look. Yeah, Maiolo on colors. Oh God, these names. Why can't everybody just be Smith? You know, just have a world of Smiths. It made life so much easier. But anyway, yeah, the colorist and the artist, they do really great, and really the imaginative ways they kind of realize or display Count Vertigo's powers are great. I really enjoyed the story. We're building to something bigger that's coming, which I'm really looking forward to. This book just remains to be great, and I'm so pleased that one of my favourite characters has got a fantastic book. Since Lemire came on, he's just totally turned this book around. This book was really pants when he came on board, and he's just turned it around, and now it's one of the best books on the shelves. And yeah, definitely worth jumping on. And I give Green Arrow issue 24 not only my cover of the week, not only my geek out moment of the week, but I also give it 5 stars. And finally this week we have all new X-Men issue number 17, Battle of the Atom, chapter 6. And I'm still really loving the whole Battle of the Atom. Like, I love a good time travel story or alternate realities, and this series has been giving us that in spades. The last issue or the last chapter of this series gave us a twist to sustain us through the next month. This issue starts giving us answers, and amongst all that is a lot of time travel kind of stuff as we see alternate futures. The whole issue is structured to build up to the last page, which it does really well. and I liked that whole structure. And this whole like story, this whole crossover event really has done the last page really well. Every issue they seem to have a last page that brings you back to the next bit and really brings you back, really wanting to see how it's going to be resolved. Really good. I'm just loving the book. I don't think I've enjoyed a Marvel event this much since the Siege. They're doing a really great job. Definitely one worth checking out, whether you want to wait for the trade or kind of want to jump in on board. It's been a really good series, and I give issue number 17 of All New X-Men 5 stars.